Hi there, guys. Welcome back to another episode of our non-league podcast. Thank you very much for the recent support. It's been greatly appreciated. But let's get straight into it. We're going to quickly go over games that took place last Tuesday. So, who wants to go first?
I can start you off, mate. I
Go on,
can
Casey.
start you off.
Go on.
Well, I'll speak on our game. Obviously, we played on Wednesday because obviously it was meant to be at Solihull, but their pitch was a bit battered. So we played the reverse fixture early and they came to our place and obviously we beat them 2-0, which for us was a very big result in terms of league standings. They were above us in the league prior to kick off and now they're 12th and we're 5th. So it was a massive win for us and definitely much needed for our push for promotion.
Definitely. Anyone want to go next? Feel free.
I just want to mention a couple of shock results, really. You have Maidenhead beating Yeovil 4-2, which took me by surprise. I thought Yeovil would do them 2 or 3-0. And then you also had Dover beating Barnet 3-1, which also shook me up a bit because I never expected that. I thought it would be Barnet all day long.
Well, you could say that, but then again, Barnet haven't exactly been amazing this season. So maybe it was, maybe it wasn't overly a surprise. But yeah, Will, want to go next?
Yeah, I thought our game was it was a bit of a game of two halves. First half we were terrible. Bromley were all over us. It was almost like we sort of just carried on this poor run of form, and then we changed it up a bit in the second half. Even though Bromley scored and made it 2-0, you still sort of sensed that something was coming. And then for 17-year-old Jayden Warren to pop up with 2 goals, I mean, he's younger than me. That's what we're talking here. And it was just, I mean, it will up his value a bit in the market, but it was just a positive result, which is what we need at the moment because we're in a bit of a slump. But very good game.
Well, yeah, Dawn, sorry.
I also want to mention the Torquay Sutton game as well. All the Torquay United fans on social media thinking they won the league after 15 games and they can't score a goal against the big boys and play backs against the wall. So I'd be very careful what they put on Twitter and social media, especially for the next 5 weeks when they get the teams underneath them. They're playing their games in hand.
Right.
Yes, there is a lot of games in hand, isn't there? I saw the table. I think Torquay are on 20, 21 games, and I mean, even teams like Notts are still on 19, 18.
17.
Yeah, I think there's someone on 17 games. Can't remember. I think it's Stockport.
Stockport, Sutton, Notts, Maidenhead,
Dover
all
and
got
like
17.
16 or 15.
Yeah, they're all and they're not very far off at all. I mean, I know Torquay are 8 points clear, but I mean a few wins and that gets taken down to 2, maybe 3 points. So I think, yeah, I think it will come to bite them in the arse at the end of the season.
Dan, go on.
Just want to say Weymouth Aldershot 2-0 win for Weymouth, which surprised me as well, considering last Saturday they beat Hartlepool 1-0. I thought they'd run out of steam. And part of me can see them staying up this season because of if it doesn't get cancelled or anything, I can see them staying up.
I agree to be fair, Dan, because obviously we went there on Saturday and obviously we won, but it was only 1-0 and they were quite strong defensively as well as good going forward, which is why I think the teams like Dagenham and Woking and Aldershot need to be careful and need to start picking up points as quick as possible.
Oh yeah, sorry. Just adding on Casey's point. Yeah, no, I think Weymouth they've brought in that centre half. They've definitely strengthened as a side, and as long as they I think they seem to be doing quite good at home. And then I mean they got a good win against Aldershot, obviously, and so they seem to be climbing. So yeah, so teams like Wiltstone and Kings Lynn are looking back on their shoulders and thinking we're in danger now. We actually need to start picking up points. Yeah, fair play to Weymouth. Brought in the signings. completely turned it around, and yeah, I'd definitely see them staying up.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Alex, with Lynn.
And Alex, just before I go to Will, do you want to touch on your game with Altrincham? Obviously, you lost 2-0.
Yeah, there's not really much to say. I mean, it was just a completely one-sided game. I don't think we even registered a shot on target all game. I think we had maybe 1 or 2 corners. But another terrible performance defensively. No ideas coming through the midfield and going to attack. Just no creativity. It was just hoofball all game. Just can't string. It looks like we can't even string like maybe 4 or 5 passes together, and it's just not looking very good. But obviously, the Solihull game got cancelled, so we never know. But yeah, hopefully we can turn it around. But yeah, fair play to Alty. They were good, very good.
Okay. So, Will?
I think there's 2 teams we need to speak a bit more about, Maidenhead and Altrincham, because you seem to think they're going to fall away, and they keep picking up these surprise results. And Altrincham have clearly got ambition because they've just signed someone on a 2-year contract, some striker from Wigan.
Yeah.
And you just get the feeling that they're sort of trying to. Whereas what Viking did last season, where we sort of faded away, Altrincham have got the funds, and I think they've got Canadian investors as well. They're sort of trying to stay up there. And as for Maidenhead, they just seem to have some really good players. Like obviously you had Danilo of Orsi de Dimo at Hampton.
Yeah.
And they've got, I mean, Manny Parry's done really well this season. And you just sort of, as a sort of playoff outsider, you look at them and think, well, Alan Devonshire, he's a very good manager. And for once, they've got a good team that you think he can do well with.
Kel?
Talking about the Weymouth Hartlepool game, unfortunately I wasn't here to speak about it last week, but I mean, and to be honest, like they came with we went to them with a game plan. We knew they were going to sit back, but unfortunately we just couldn't break them down. And you could tell by the players' reactions of Weymouth every time they made a challenge, a block, and they got a goal kick. You could tell they had the belief in themselves that, listen, we've got a fight in our hands. We need to pick up as many points as possible, and they 100% deserve the win. Like, we just didn't really turn up. Like, it really shows, like, we can beat Notts, we can beat Stockport, but if we can't beat the lower teams, there's no way we're going to be challenging for the league if we just can't beat the lower teams. It's been the same for the past 3 seasons, to be honest. We always play well against big teams, but as soon as we come to the little teams, maybe away, maybe, I don't really know, but we don't perform against lower teams. Maybe it's arrogance, I don't know. But yeah, 100% deserve the points. Congrats to Weymouth, 100% to staying up, in my opinion. To play like that every week, could finish mid-table. I don't think playoffs is really on anymore. Like, they've dropped so many points, but they did look like a very good unit when we played them.
You mentioned arrogance with Hartlepool, Kel, but I think it's amazing how you've got that arrogance after being an overachieving mid-table side this season. But mate, as I'm going to say as well, winning at the Bob Lucas Stadium isn't for everyone, is it?
This is very true. Only the best.
Yeah, I understand that, to be honest. Like, I don't know. A couple of our players, since they stayed on from the Football League. I think a couple of players have a little bit of arrogance about places like that because they're used to playing in bigger stadiums. And like when we came out of this league with some part-time teams and all that, I know Weymouth's on about going full-time, but I don't think we got a little bit of arrogance. I don't think we deserve to have arrogance. We're in this league for a reason, but I don't know. As well as.
All right. Quickly, I'll go to Dan, then I'll move on to the next topic.
I just want to quickly touch on whilst we're about Tuesday's games. We were meant to play Stockport, but I got called off 6 hours beforehand with a frozen pitch. Even though we had covers on, there was no rain for the best part of 2 or 3 days, and it was about 7-8 degrees last Tuesday. So The question I've got to pose to you guys is, what's the point in pitch covers if it's just going to get the game called off?
It's I don't know, mate. But for me, I think teams normally, well, not normally, this season especially, I think some of the postponements have been due to the games that, like, the opponents that they're playing against. Because say if you was playing against Dover or Barnet that night, I don't think you would have called it off. I just think it's more about the difficulty of the opposition, more about how bad the pitch was, and I suppose it's all about a run of results. And maybe you just thought you wasn't going to get a result against Stockport, so you thought it was best to call it off and try and get another one going before you play them again.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Something was dodgy about that, in my opinion, but we'll never know. Will?
Right. Well, go on, yeah.
Thing is, the pitch inspections are usually decided by the referees, right? But do you think Kings Lynn would have made more effort to get the game on if it was against Barnet rather than Stockport?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think. Well, what Lynn have done in the
No
past
offence to
couple.
Barnet.
What Lynn have done in the past couple of years is Norfolk FA have got God knows how many local referees that can just go and check a pitch, especially with no grassroots football on or anything. They could have given a referee a call up, just check the pitch, but apparently they didn't do that on Tuesday. So part of me thinks they just wanted to not play Stockport and give it a few months and see if we could go on better form. Something was definitely wrong there on Lynn's part, in my opinion. It just wasn't natural for me.
Kel?
Like, on about frozen pitches and all that, there's a pitch inspection tomorrow at 1 p.m. for Halifax. If that game gets postponed, this is now the third time the game has been postponed. This was supposed to play on New Year's Day. And I understand if the pitch is playable, if the pitch is unplayable, the pitch is unplayable. But they had a home game on Saturday against Maidenhead, but now suddenly it's a Tuesday night against Hartlepool, and suddenly it's currently a pitch inspection, and now the pitch is frozen. So it's something I've holding my tongue a little bit about the twice now about the game being called off, but now that we're getting to a third time, it's getting a little bit fishy and a little bit, something's definitely up, in my opinion.
I think we'll move on to the next point now. And it's an ongoing issue. It's obviously the funding situation around the league. Does anyone want to give the viewers or listeners update on what's gone on? Go on, Dan.
First thing I want to say is, obviously, if you listen to the Stephen Clear podcast, which we put out, I believe, on Wednesday, you would have heard from him that options 2 and 3 or 1 and 2 were taken off the table, or was it all 3?
I think it was all, might have been all
1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2 at the time.
No, actually, the only option on the table now is a loan. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Carry on.
Let's just say that then. And today there was a petition put up. I haven't got a clue who by, trying to basically beg for grants and not loans. I think that hit 1,000 once, and then all of a sudden the numbers dropped down to, I think, 32 odd, and then it went back up to 500, and then it hit 65 again, and that confused me a bit because it's almost as if whoever's running the system, the petition system, doesn't. It's like it's not on the government one, but you get what I mean, don't you? I'm just rambling on now. I'll let someone else talk.
Yeah, go on. You want to go next?
No, it's not much like on the topic of funding. It's just more of a personal opinion. I just think however the season concludes, there's always going to be a side or a few sides or a lot of sides that are negatively affected. It's either going to benefit the teams at the top or the bottom. So it's not exactly the easiest decision in the world.
Well, I was just today reading something on the local paper. Our boss, Ian Culverhouse, has said it's an absolute farce that the season's continuing, and he's asking for it to be curtailed, even though I believe that half the players want to play on, as it were.
That's what I mean, though. Obviously, I understand that players will want to continue because as much as people like say, "Oh, it's well-being above everything else," it's still their jobs. It's what their weeks are like involved around. It's what a Saturday is all they live up for in a week. So it's I suppose you could say a routine being scrapped for them. And if mental well-being is just as important as physical well-being, then there's a lot to take into consideration, in my opinion.
But our captain, Josh Casey, said in a local paper a couple of weeks ago, he said it's not right if there's no testing, if there's no funding for testing to go on, because you're basically just letting them exposed to the virus. And now Woking have put testing in place, seems to be fine. But you just wonder, what if every team can't afford it? It's just going to make it I mean, the cases have gone right down in the leagues, but even still. Yeah.
Especially Will, with the news that came out today that apparently in Woking they found 2 cases of this South African variant. It might just be upon normal people, but if the players start getting that variant and then it gets passed around the league, it's just going to get too dangerous for it to continue.
Well, luckily we got testing, so that shouldn't happen anyway. But it's just for the teams like Dover or something who are too poor, they can't afford it.
If anyone saw else, or there was that report from the Times saying that all 3 leagues are to be finished immediately. Obviously, we don't want to read too much into it yet because we're still waiting on the resolution of the vote that was taking place today as we're recording this. But yeah, obviously we can't read too much into it. But anyone else want to add anything?
I think they'll play tomorrow, and then I can just see that being the end of the season. And I'll feel sorry for Torquay fans who at the moment look like they could win the league, and I feel sorry for anyone in the top half of the playoffs, because it's wrong. It's the right thing to do, but it's wrong in my opinion.
Okay. Anyone else want to add anything before I move on?
I just think with this situation, it's from a fan's point of view. I just think it's more of a waiting game. You can say what you want on social media and have whatever opinions you want, but whatever the conclusion is whatever they decide, and after that it's done. You can't do anything about it. So it's a tough time, but it's just all about waiting and seeing, really.
Okay, then I'll move on to the recent transfers that have taken place in the last week since we last met you. Does anyone have a note of any interesting transfer they've seen?
I can begin by saying that we've today signed Jordan Barnett from, well, he was originally at Oldham until he terminated his contract to move to us. And the replies from Oldham fans are mixed bag, really. They've said he's a good player, but probably not ready for the Football League just yet. But that for me is all right because we're the next step down. So if he's coming to us with experience, he's played 24 times for him since September. He's coming with experience. We needed a left back, and we've got one. So I think he's definitely going to strengthen our defence. But our defence is pretty solid either way. But yeah, overall, I do think he's a good sign and probably one that we definitely need, and we will probably benefit from a lot.
Go on, Dan.
Just want to say I haven't really spoken about any of the transfers in or out of Lynn on here, so I'd say this has been a somewhat decent window for Lynn. Obviously losing Simon Power because Norwich wanted to get him to Harrogate, which is fair enough. Can't do anything about that. But dealing a couple players out of Chesterfield in Kawamia and Denton, and Kawamia has really replaced Power on the wing with his speed, and Denton I haven't really seen enough of to pass judgment on him. But Kawamia has been class for Lynn until he got injured against Dagenham last week, so hopefully he's got a bright future ahead of us.
And obviously you had the departure of Jamal Loza to Woking, which caused a bit of a stir among the Lynn fan base.
Is it in the contract to mention this every single week?
Yes.
As it happens, though, he's injured at the moment, so I mean it's a shame we haven't seen much of him yet. But
But yeah, fair play. Loza did want to go back to Woking and get a better deal there. Then fair play to him. I wish he stayed at Lynn because he was a class player for us. But you can't have it always, can you? Just remember, Will, he got the 3 points against you lot, so
Okay.
that might be null and voided. So
doesn't matter. He still got 3 points against you, and I'll hold that as bragging rights for the rest of my life. Anyway, Alex,
go on.
Yeah, so mentioning on Wildstone's transfers, we've been quite busy. I think the main one bringing in, obviously, Eisted. I think that is so crucial for us because he was so good before. Yeah, I mean, not even arguably, he was the best in the league. And so, yeah, that was massive for us. And I think he was key because we were obviously right at the top at the start of the season. I think he was very key for that. And so, yeah, getting him back has been good. I mean, we've had I think we've had 2 keepers since he left, and yeah, both been terrible. I mean, countless errors, and so yeah, it's good to get him back, and hopefully he can shape up the defence. We brought in a new centre back on loan to the end of the season. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name, but he played for Arsenal. He's in the Arsenal academy. Had a brief spell at Cork City as well. So hopefully he can sort it. I mean, anything will be better than our defence now. So to bring in him and Meekins as well a few weeks ago, I think is a real step forward for us. And we've also signed a new winger from QPR, obviously on loan to the end of the season. I've heard from a QPR fan that he's actually quite good. He's played 2 games for him, and he did shine, and so I've seen a few highlights as well, and he does look good in the ball. So yeah, hopefully he can find himself in the National League.
I just want to add on to Alex's point about Eisted going back to Wellstone, and obviously a few weeks ago we saw National League winners after 14 games sign a Truro City bloody goalkeeper, whilst Eisted was probably available on loan. And it's the same that's happened with today as well, when Wrexham have signed Dio Angus and David Lee signed Roy Hodgson's bitch from Crystal Palace, and apparently he's the next best thing. But I don't know. It's their fan base on Twitter is just delusional, in my opinion, if they think they've won the league after 14, 15 games
Jesus
of the
has
season.
anyone noticed how quiet it's been without Georgie?
yes. Oh, Casey, you got me crying.
No, but I'm saying this now because I know when he listens
shouldn't
back to
have said
this, he's gonna come for me. But he can come for me all he wants because we're coming for them in the table. And when we take over them, I'm gonna have a dancing session on this podcast, baby.
Right. Just want to ask Alex a quick and honest question. On the basis of you getting Isted back, or however you say his name, do you think you can now start conceding less goals, and do you think he will lead the line for you guys and hopefully get you back up the table?
Yeah, I think he does make that massive difference. He was making absolutely crucial saves at the start of the season. He was unbelievably underrated. I think it wasn't just him that we needed to get back though. I think we did need a fresh set of defence because obviously we're the chemo back then, and we was dropping Phillips, who's normally a midfielder, and he just looked like he wasn't comfortable there. Like he just looked so out of place. And so to get them 2 centre backs in, obviously I think Meekins is out with an injury, as all of our players it seems. But yeah, no, he definitely will sort it out. He's an experienced keeper, and Luton recalled him for a reason. And so yeah, it's great to have him back. I think he has a good relationship with Dean Brennan, and so yeah, no, I think he'll make a massive difference. So we'll see. I think we got Maidenhead tomorrow, and so that'll be a massive game. And I think yeah, hopefully we can get 3 points.
Fair enough, mate.
Anyone
One
else want to mention?
more. Yes, mate. I've got one more outgoing from Notts this week, and that was Wes Thomas terminating his contract, which was massively disappointing from my point of view, because I thought on form he's probably one of our best strikers, if not the best. And obviously he refused. Well, they say he refused to play. I don't think refuse was the right word, because it makes you look bad in the media, especially when he's had newborn kids and it's all about health recently. But I can tell you for a fact, whichever National League club gets him, when he decides it's time for him to play football again, is going to really benefit from him, because his work rate up front is absolutely amazing, and I've never seen anyone run so much in a game like he does.
Anyone
Do
else
you
want to mention any signings
Ca-
they made? Sorry, Dan. Go on.
That's okay. Quick question, Casey. Do you think he'll make his way up the footballing pyramid, maybe League 2, League 1?
No, I don't think. He's getting on a bit now in terms of age, so I think the National League is probably where he's going to find his feet for the rest of his career. But someone like Dagenham or Bolton Wood, I think would definitely be the right club for him. It's closer to where he's based as well in terms of family. So I wish him the best. He was great for us. He was fantastic, and he will be missed for sure.
Fair enough, mate. Anyway, Josh, I'll let you speak now.
Okay. I'll move on to one of the more humorous parts of the week. Obviously, as we mentioned, we had Kings Lynn chairman Stephen Cleave on for an interview, and his side played Wrexham at the weekend at the Walks. And I'll hand over to Dan to explain it, with him being the Kings Lynn fan.
So basically, I think it was either 2010 or 2011, Cleave attempted to do a takeover on Wrexham, but they weren't having any of it. So on Saturday, and I must admit, I found it quite funny. I didn't find this part funny because it took the piss a bit out of Wrexham's media team. He stopped their commentary at the ground, then Mixler commentary, and then so I believe all the Wrexham fans boycotted our stream. So he went on Twitter and had an absolute meltdown. That's the part I found funny, because I don't know why, I just found it hilarious just watching Cleave get in the heads of Wrexham. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything on, but one thing I do want to say is I think it's better that Cleave says it as it is instead of all this media trained PR rubbish, because I think it's better to see their own opinions instead of PR. That's all I want to say on the subject.
I agree with that, to be fair, and I agree. It was pretty entertaining seeing him just go after these Wrexham fans, wind them up as well. He literally had them on strings. He's still going a day later as well. It was brilliant, I have to say. Anyone else want to add their thoughts on the matter?
I mean, what I have to say is that I think it's nice that in these times he's sort of giving them a bit of something to laugh about. I mean, some of the stuff he was saying about the fact he lived in Chester because Wrexham's a dump and everything. I mean, when it turns personal and nasty, that's not right. But there's an acceptable level you can get to.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
as long as it's
sorry.
Yes, sorry, go on, Dan. Sorry.
I agree with that, because if any of you guys have seen a picture of him, he has what I thought at first was a lazy eye, but it turns out it got damaged somehow or other, and I don't know how. And the Wrexham fans got personal, taking the piss out of that. Whilst I don't mind a bit of back and forth banter, that's much too much in my opinion, because for all you know, someone could be really mentally low about their appearance, and that could just damage them even further.
Yeah, I agree. As long as you're keeping it to a fairly standard of banter and it's just friendliness going back and forth. But yeah, some of them that have taken the mick out of his eye, that's too far. That's when it crosses the line. But other than that, I thought it was Just great to him winding them up, like I said. Let's move on to talking about Saturday's game. Just go over them quickly. So, who wants to talk about their team first? I believe Woking had an unfortunate result. Will?
Yes, we came up against Stockport, and Stockport were rather good. And we tried out some weird 5 at the back formation with players who haven't been seen for ages. And it all sort of went a bit, 4-1 was actually quite flattering in the end because, as the saying goes, we were battered. Absolutely battered. And I mean, the only positive was Moussa Diarra scored, which is what he's good at, and the only other positive was we drew the second half. But in terms of the actual game, I mean, it was, I have to say that some of Stockport's link-up play was amazing. If they keep that up for the rest of the season, forget your Notts, forget your Torquay, Stockport win the league.
Okay, I'd like to add on to what Will just said. I think before you start adding playoff sides, I think you should worry about the Kings Lynn and the Weymouth that are slowly catching you up at the bottom half of the table.
All right. I was just saying, watch out for Stockport.
Mate, I know. But before you worry about the playoffs,
Actually, I was going to ask Will. Do you actually think Woking could go down if you keep getting these bad results? Do you think there's really good?
I think if it gets to that situation, we've got an investor now who's he's giving out 18-month contracts. So if it gets to that situation, we might be able to just bring in a few good players, which is what we're planning to do next season. Obviously, when they're all out of contract, so you don't have to pay for them. But if you know what I mean, I don't think he's going to let us slip down that far because it's his investment and he doesn't want to make it harder for himself. Yeah, Dan?
I just want to say, are you seriously suggesting that Kings Lynn could end up overhauling Woking? Because I think Weymouth and Barnet are as good as settled to go down.
Barnet and Dovey, you mean?
That's the ones, yeah. Sorry, Weymouth.
No, I was just saying if it gets to that situation, I mean, it's all lifts and buts at this moment. If we win our next 5 games, we'll be in the playoffs.
If the season continues, that is.
Exactly. There's so many ifs, and that's what you've got to consider. We're at the stage now where your sort of league position gets cemented. The first sort of 15 games or whatever is when you sort of find your feet, and now it's sort of decides your season.
Yeah. Now you've got to start playing well. You've got to start sorting yourselves out. You've got to pick up points now, or you could be in the bottom half of the table, threatened with relegation. Simple as. Anyway, Kel.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about probably the game of the weekend. Well, on paper, second v third at the times. Hartlepool v Sutton. We bounced back from Weymouth with a 1-0 win over Sutton. It was a scrappy game, to be fair. Reece Oates, the man who is on form, him and Armstrong up front, them two, the partnership was incredible. And Sutton, they weren't bad, but they spent more of the time shouting at the referee for fouls and actually playing proper football. But at the end of the day, we saw out the win in a really good way. So it's an extra 3 points. We overtake Sutton, even though they've got 2 games in hand over us, I believe. But yeah, and if we win on Tuesday, if the game stays on, which it's against Halifax, so probably not, but we move 7 points away from Torquay, so we're up the backside. So if I was Torquay, I would start looking down.
Yeah, Dan, back to you quickly.
I just want to mention the Kings Lynn nil Wrexham 2. We didn't play well at all in the first half. Conceded 2 sloppy goals. Really, biggest takeaway from that is need to learn how to defend set pieces. It's been the story of our season. But second half, we were on top. I think we registered 9 shots in total, 5 on target. Overall, throughout the match, we had 68% worth of possession. We just couldn't get the ball in the final well, we could get the ball in the final third. We just couldn't do anything with it. So it was a gutting game, but those are the kind of games we need to pick up points in. But hopefully, I'm not saying we will beat Chesterfield. We probably won't. But hopefully we can take positives and play well tomorrow at Chesterfield and hopefully get a point out of it. Casey?
Yeah, no, I just want to. Obviously, I touched on our result at Weymouth earlier, but what I can say is they came out as a lot more and played a lot more attacking football than Torquay did against us the weekend before. Sorry, and obviously one's near the bottom of the table fighting for relegation, and the other one won the league after 14 games, and there's a bit of a difference between how both set up for the games, but. That's what I mean, Matt. And again, I'm going to talk about Torquay again because they beat Barnet 2-0, who have got 9 points or whatever it is this season. They're walking across Twitter like they've just won the Champions League and battered Bayern Munich in Germany or something.
I don't think you like Torquay, Casey. I don't think you like Torquay. Like,
I don't know who.
Doesn't sound like you like them.
Mate, I don't know who gave them the confidence to think they won the league so early on when they've got a big tech Cal Roberts playing on the wing, and again Roy Hodgson's bitch up front. So listen, that's me done anyway on that because I think George would kill me otherwise.
Yeah, Dan, take over.
I have to agree with KC there. Last season we beat Blythe 3-0 at home, and we were just going across social media as if we won everything. Blythe were at the bottom of the table at that point, and I think one of our fans put on the Facebook group the banter page, the North and South banter page, Wi-Fi-ing Blythe down after we beat them 3-0 when they're at the bottom of the table, and that was too confident for me. So I have to agree with what KC says.
Isn't a win for Kings Lynn like a massive achievement, like when Kings Lynn win the town wins or something?
Hashtag we are Lynn. You can't forget that, Will. But at the moment, yes, it is. But last 3 seasons, when we seemingly couldn't lose a game, we lost about 10 games in total in the league over 40. Got to do some maths. About 110 league games. So yeah, that was big for us. But as you said, when Lynn win, the town wins.
Does anyone else want to mention any other results of note? Not related to their team, maybe.
Bear with a second. I'm just going to look at the games.
Is the Halifax Maidenhead game? Was a bit of a... Sorry, Alex, you go first.
No, I was just saying that Willstone. I think a couple of games got cancelled. The Willstone Solihull game got cancelled. So I think there was quite a few.
There was the Halifax Maidenhead game, obviously, which was a bit back and forth between obviously Maidenhead going up near the playoffs. Eventually came on top with an 85th minute winner. But Dan, you go on.
While we were talking about it, I think there's a couple games we didn't mention. Yeovil beat Dover 3-1, which isn't really much of an achievement in itself, but going 1-0 down in the 13th minute against Dover is pretty funny, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know if anyone else watched it, the BT Sport game, Bromley 2, Aldershot 0.
Yeah, quite a bit of that. Yeah, Bromley looked...
Yeah, I was just going to say that was a great first goal from, what's his name?
I believe the man you're looking for is Jack Bridge.
Jack Bridge, yeah.
Bridge, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, I was going to say that was a great strike. And I think I watched a bit of it, and Bromley did dominate. So I think they will be getting playoffs.
Obviously, top scorer Michael Cheek got on the score sheet as well. Will, go on.
I think I watched quite a bit of the game as well, and Aldershot seem to be that team that they have all the good passing and everything. They create loads of chances, but they can't put their chance to win. They've been like that for years, and I mean they've actually got some really good players like Toby Edzer, and I mean I just think they're a bit underachieving a bit. They could be playoffs if Ricky Miller gets fit fully and they have someone who can start banging in the goals, that they probably will be playoffs. As much as I hate to say it.
the thing I found best about that game was when Bromley scored. That video gets put in the group chat. Best part of the weekend, that in my opinion. The old Bromley chant.
Oh, yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it?
The
that's
Bromley
fantastic.
chant, yeah.
You could have been
Yeah,
a
everyone
fan
loves
of
that.
the champions of the Champions League, but they
No,
make
worst
it.
worst
So-
things if you've ever been to Bromley, they play it before their games. And to me, because we'd never ever win there, it just summons like it's just depression, isn't it? And then it's the same with Boreham
We need to
Wood,
get that guy who
Tom Park.
bringing it on
You
the
hear it.
podcast.
It's
What the
just
guy?
one of those things you never thought you'd hear in non-league, is it? It's
no.
class.
It's one of the things that makes non-league what it is.
Yeah. It's a bit of a laugh. It's very serious, but it's a bit of a laugh at the same time. You got to have fun, haven't you?
Of course, yeah.
Does anybody want to
Do you want to
recreate it?
move on to the Tuesday games?
Yeah, we'll move on to the Tuesday games now, I think, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So, who wants to mention? I'll go over their team's game first.
I'll get Willstone out of the way. Willstone, Maidenhead. I think that will be quite a big game because obviously Maidenhead are trying to get a win to stay with the big boys at the top, and I think Willstone, we really need a win, and we really need a home win as well because I think we've been very, very poor since the start of December, and so I think this is a massive game, and especially because we've brought in quite a few good few players who hopefully merge in well. And it wasn't too good last time. We got battered 4-0. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Go on, Dan. Want to go next?
Yeah. So Chesterfield away. What was, I believe, the Proact Stadium? I can't remember. It will be a good game for Chesterfield fans. It was meant to be played in December, the bank holiday Monday, where everyone else played, but it got called off because Chesterfield caught COVID, and then we got it. So, yeah, I think we need at least 1 point out of it, but I can't see it happening. That Kwasi Asante, or however you say his name, class player. He's the one player I'm not looking forward to going up against.
Will?
Well, thank the Lord, after our shambles on Saturday, we don't actually have a game on tomorrow night. So,
No.
I mean, I think as much as there's the league to talk about, the FA Trophy on Saturday, it gives us a chance to sort of a bit of success away from the league. And we've got Sutton away coming up twice in the next week. So, I mean, if anyone can tell me anything about their stream, but whether I'm gonna have to mute the commentary or anything.
Dan, I think he has an opinion on that.
Sutton Stream. Well, two things I would say is we played them right at the start of the season, so hopefully it would have improved. But firstly, it was so slow, the frame rate. It was horrible. Secondly, when they went 4-0 up against us, their commentators decided to sing the Hokey Cokey. Make of that what you will. But no, the commentary very good. Like I said, the picture quality not the best. Just one of those things, isn't it? So,
All right. I'll move on to Casey. His thoughts. Notts have got Bromley tomorrow.
Look, again, it's another big game for us in terms of what we're trying to achieve this season, whether it finishes or not is a different story, as we've discovered. Bromley as well, a very good side, as we all know, up there as well. Will probably come and attack us better than the league champions did, but we'll just have to see what happens. You know, it's going to be a tough game. I think we will get the result though, and we'll be pushing up even further. As it stands, if results go our way, we can go into second tomorrow night as well. So, Torquay, watch out.
Kel, Hartlepool are at the moment away at Halifax. Obviously, there's a pitch inspection, but go ahead.
Yeah, pitch inspection, 1 p.m. If it goes ahead, I believe that we've got enough to beat them, not comfortably, but if we play our football, I think we should get a result. But Halifax do have a couple of dangerous players and could hit us on the counter. But we need to start getting results and getting another run going because getting beat off Weymouth really set us back a bit. And we are unfortunately looking over our shoulders at Stockport, not even Maidenhead, because if we drop any more points, we could start going further and further down. So it's a massive game tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll get the result.
Dan?
I've been noticing recently over the past couple of weeks since it got suspended, some National League North and South clubs are playing friendlies. Are your Hampton playing any, Josh, or are you saving what money you've got?
We're not as far at the moment. I know Dorking have played a few. I mean, Dorking played Ebbsfleet, I believe, and I think Hemel played some as well. But no,
Dorking played Bath. What was that all about?
Yeah, I understand that. That's an odd one to get Bath to come all that way.
I was going to say some distance, that isn't it? Best part of 150, 200 mile Bath to Surrey.
Yeah.
And just another thing I want to say, just being on the website for that petition I mentioned earlier, it's now got 3,358 signatures, so hopefully it will get noticed.
Just before we move on, another game I want to talk about that doesn't involve any of our clubs, but Stockport Sutton, obviously massive game for both sides, both up on there, both on 31 points. So you could probably say it's a 6-pointer. How does everyone see that one going?
Stockport Sutton, did you say? I'm going to go Sutton 2-1. Wait, is it at Stockport? Yeah.
Yeah, it's at Edgeley Park, yeah. So you say... Okay.
That could... Actually, I might have to change that because it's not the best pitch there, is it? Yeah,
it's a tough one to call, isn't it?
So I think the pitch will play into Stockport's favour because they're more used to it. End of the day, whoever wins.
Yeah.
But about as intellectual as I'll ever get.
And just another game at the top there, you've got Torquay Altrincham. Torquay looking to extend their lead at the top, potentially. Altrincham looking to close the gap on the teams above them in the playoffs.
I think that could be a 0-0 draw, actually.
Yeah, potentially. We'll be surprised, but does anyone else have a game they want to mention quickly before we move on?
I think we've just about gone through them all, haven't we?
Okay, that's all right then. So, I believe almost at the end, but just before we close out, we're going to talk about the funding situation, and I think I'd do this by just asking you all your thoughts on what you think should happen. So, does anyone want to go first?
Yeah, well, me and you spoke to Mark the Tunbridge fan.
Yes.
And he was very clear. He thinks it should be moved to a later date, and we should sort of start next season a bit later. And I think at this point, if you can't, they're trying everything they can not to null and void. So, but it just depends if they can get the green light to move it and to be sure that there's going to be full crowds and everything. Because if we get to July and there's still no fans in the stadiums, this is just a complete waste of time, isn't it? I mean, personally, I think we should try and get the grants. If we can't, National League continues and North and South don't, as much as it's. But you could say if you were a North and South fan that your view would be different, but I think we should continue until we can't.
Dan?
I get what Will says about fans back in stadiums, but as soon as this lockdown ends, they're going back to a tiered system. And if they keep on with the tier 4 and everything, like for many areas, like what they have before this lockdown, I can't see fans being in until possibly even until the majority of the country gets vaccinated. But going back onto funding, I think grants, not loans, is the best way forward. But I have to agree with Will, as much as it pains me to say this, because I don't want to see no football stopping. I think North and South has to end for the sake of the National League itself. But that's my opinions on it. What do you think, Josh?
It's a difficult one. Like you said, North and South sides, they're really struggling. They're really, really struggling. And even though it's not the outcome that probably the majority of us want to see, it's probably for the benefit of the National League, like you said, for them to continue, for them to function. It may have to see North and South just finish, which is not obviously not far from ideal, far from what clubs and what fans of clubs want. But with what's going on and with it being loans, then there's not going to be very little other choice. Dan, go on.
We have to play to a conclusion this season, or at least until we can get to PPG, for the pure reason of if we can't promote anyone into League Two, I can see the EFL not ending our relationship with the league, but making life pretty hard for us, if that makes sense.
Kel, your thoughts?
I don't really know, to be honest. Like, I haven't really been keeping up to date with not really what's going on, to be honest. Obviously, I want the season to continue. With the season stops, I would want points per game. I would want it null and void, but I know other teams will want it null and void, and then you can have the argument that we haven't passed the halfway point in the season, which I've heard somewhere that you have to get past halfway to be points per game. But at the end of the day, like, as much as I want football to continue, this is people's lives that we're on about. They also, a couple of teams are part-time, so they have jobs alongside football, which if they get COVID, they'll be off and they won't be able to work. So I think the season should really be stopped, to be honest, as much as people don't want it to, because we're on about people's lives at the moment, and I think players have been like guinea pigs, just, you know. But at the end of the day, I don't think it'll be stopped for another couple of weeks. I think they're going to try and get to the halfway point and then stop it and then do points per game, and then we'll wait until maybe June or July to do the playoffs.
Kel, just going back on what you said about halfway point, when we had Steve Cleave on, he said 66%, I believe. So I think working that out in my head quickly, that's about the best part of 30 games we have to play.
Oh, well, most of the stuff that I've just said just becomes invalid then.
But I still get your point, though.
Yeah, but I think football should stop, but, you know.
So do I, and it pains me to say it because I love it as much as anything, but it has to, for the safety of players, for the safety of players' families even. What's to say that a player doesn't have, say, their 80, 90-year-old grandparents in a support bubble, goes and does shopping without knowing they have the virus and pass it on to them and kill them. So I think it's got to stop, honestly.
Okay. Casey, do you have anything else to add? If not, then I'll just move on.
Like, I don't know what's going to happen, mate, to be honest, with this season. Like I said earlier, I'm just seeing it more as a waiting game. Fans don't get a say. By the sounds of it, clubs really don't either, because you see a new article every day that suggests otherwise. Whatever happens. Someone's going to get hurt by it. It's what's going to have to be accepted and move on.
Okay, and I think...
Just one more thing, Josh. I think we have to go back to what we did in the first lockdown and quite literally cancel all sporting events, football, darts, rugby, everything.
As much as it's going to be a killer blow for everyone, I think you may be right there, you know.
But at the end of the day, we don't make the rules anyway, Josh.
No.
That's me.
Probably a good thing we don't as well. But anyway, on that note, I think we'll call it a day. Thank you again for tuning in, for listening. Don't forget to check out all our previous episodes and our interview with Steve Cleave, which went out last week. Thank you again for your company, and we'll see you again soon for another podcast.